What if I told you that the secret to making any woman fall deeply in love with you isn't what you think it is? It's not your looks, your money, or even your charm. According to Jung, one of the most brilliant minds in psychology, there's a hidden psychological trigger that drives women absolutely wild with attraction, and 99% of men have no idea it even exists. If you want to discover this powerful secret that transforms ordinary men into magnets for feminine desire, then keep watching, because what I'm about to reveal will change everything you thought you knew about attraction. I'm about to share with you Jung's most profound discovery about the feminine psyche, something so powerful that when you understand it and apply it, women won't be able to resist you. But here's the thing, this isn't some pickup artist trick or manipulation technique. This is pure psychology, backed by decades of research into the human unconscious mind. You see, Carl Jung spent his entire career studying what he called the collective unconscious, the deeper layers of the psyche that we all share as human beings. And within this collective unconscious, he discovered something extraordinary about how women are wired for attraction at the deepest psychological level. Most men are completely unaware of this psychological reality. They think attraction is all about being the alpha male, showing off their achievements, or playing hard to get. But Jung's research reveals something far more sophisticated and powerful. And if you think you know what I'm talking about, think again. This goes deeper than anything you've ever heard about attraction psychology. So pay close attention, because missing even one piece of this puzzle could mean the difference between being just another guy she forgets and becoming the man she can't stop thinking about. The truth is, there's an archetypal pattern buried deep in every woman's unconscious mind, a pattern that, when activated correctly, creates an irresistible pull toward you. Jung called this the animus, the masculine aspect of the feminine psyche. But here's where it gets interesting. Most men completely misunderstand what this means. They think they need to be more masculine, more dominant, more aggressive. But that's not how the animus works at all. The animus isn't attracted to traditional masculinity. It's attracted to something far more rare and powerful, psychological depth. You see, every woman carries within her unconscious mind an image of the ideal man, not the perfect boyfriend or husband, but the archetypal masculine figure that represents everything she's unconsciously seeking. This isn't about physical appearance or social status. This is about embodying specific psychological qualities that speak directly to her deepest unconscious desires. And when you understand how to activate these qualities within yourself, something magical happens. Jung discovered that women are unconsciously drawn to men who embody what he called the wise old man archetype. Not literally an old man, but a man who possesses a certain depth of wisdom, mystery, and psychological sophistication that most guys completely lack. Think about the men throughout history who were absolutely irresistible to women: philosophers, artists, mystics, and deep thinkers. These weren't necessarily the most handsome or wealthy men, but they possessed something that created an almost magnetic pull. And here's something that will blow your mind. This attraction operates completely below the level of conscious awareness. A woman might not even understand why she's so drawn to you. She just knows that something about you feels different, deeper, more compelling than other men. This is why so many nice guys fail with women despite doing everything right on the surface. They're operating from their conscious mind, trying to be logical and reasonable while completely ignoring the deeper psychological forces that actually drive attraction. But the men who understand Jung's insights, they know how to speak directly to a woman's unconscious mind. They know how to present themselves in a way that activates her deepest archetypal patterns of attraction. Now, you might be wondering, how exactly do you develop this psychological depth that Jung wrote about? How do you become the kind of man who naturally activates a woman's animus in the most powerful way possible? The answer lies in what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are at the deepest level. But this isn't some abstract philosophical concept. There are specific, practical ways to develop this magnetic psychological presence. First, you need to understand that women are unconsciously attracted to men who have done what Jung called shadow work, men who have faced and integrated their dark side instead of running from it. This doesn't mean being a bad boy or a rebel. It means being comfortable with the full spectrum of your personality, including the parts you might prefer to hide. Most men present a sanitized version of themselves to women. They try to be perfect, always positive, always agreeable. But this actually repels women at an unconscious level because it lacks psychological authenticity. The animus is attracted to realness, to depth, to a man who has wrestled with his demons and emerged stronger. Jung discovered that women have an instinctive ability to sense when a man is hiding from himself versus when he's achieved genuine self-awareness. And this sensing happens completely below the radar of conscious thought. Here's something most dating advice gets completely wrong. Women aren't attracted to perfection. They're attracted to integration. They want a man who has embraced both, his light and his shadow, who is comfortable with complexity and contradiction. This is why the bad boys often succeed with women, but not for the reasons most people think. It's not because women love jerks. It's because these men are often more psychologically authentic than the nice guys who are constantly trying to manage their image. But here's the crucial distinction. You don't need to be a bad boy to activate this psychological attraction. You just need to be real. You need to be a man who has looked honestly at himself and made peace with what he found. Jung called this process making the unconscious conscious, bringing awareness to the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding or denying. And when you do this work, something extraordinary happens to your presence with women. You develop what Jung called numinous quality, a certain magnetic presence that people can feel but can't quite explain. Women sense that you're different from other men, that you possess a depth and authenticity that's rare in today's world. This isn't about putting on an act or trying to be mysterious for the sake of being mysterious. This is about developing genuine psychological substance that naturally creates attraction. But shadow work is just the beginning. Jung discovered that women are also unconsciously attracted to men who embody what he called the transcendent function, the ability to hold paradox and complexity without needing to resolve everything into simple categories. Most men approach relationships with women from a very linear, logical mindset. They think, if I do X, she will respond with Y. But women's psychology is far more complex and paradoxical than this. They're attracted to men who can navigate this complexity with ease and grace. This means being comfortable with ambiguity, with not having all the answers, with letting things unfold naturally rather than trying to control every outcome. It means being able to hold space for a woman's emotions without immediately trying to fix or solve everything. Jung observed that women have a natural affinity for psychological complexity because they're more connected to what he called the feeling function. Not emotions in the simple sense, but a sophisticated way of evaluating and responding to the world that goes beyond pure logic. And here's where most men make a critical mistake. They think they need to match a woman's emotional intensity or complexity, but that's not what the animus wants. The animus is attracted to men who can remain centered and grounded while fully appreciating and honoring feminine complexity. Think of it like this. If she's a storm, you don't need to become a storm too. You need to become the mountain, solid, unshakable, but also deeply appreciative of the storm's power and beauty. This is what Jung meant when he wrote about holding the tension of opposites. You develop the capacity to remain calm and centered while being fully present to whatever a woman is experiencing. You don't try to change her or fix her. You simply provide a stable, grounded presence that allows her to be fully herself. This kind of psychological maturity is incredibly rare among men today. Most guys either try to match a woman's emotional state, or they shut down and withdraw when things get complex. But the man who has developed his animus-attracting qualities, he remains present, curious, and engaged no matter what's happening. This creates a profound sense of safety and attraction for women because they rarely encounter men who can handle their full psychological reality without judgment or the need to control. Now let's talk about another crucial element that Jung discovered. Women are unconsciously attracted to men who have what he called a relationship with the eternal, a sense of connection to something larger than themselves. This doesn't necessarily mean being religious, though it can. It means having a sense of purpose, meaning, and connection that goes beyond just personal desires and achievements. It means being a man who is oriented toward growth, truth, and service to something greater. Jung noticed that women are naturally drawn to men who embody what he called the spiritual warrior archetype, not a religious fanatic, but a man who is engaged in the ongoing work of becoming more conscious, more authentic, more aligned with his deepest values. This is why women are often attracted to artists, philosophers, activists, and other men who are clearly devoted to something meaningful. There's something in the feminine psyche that responds powerfully to masculine purpose that extends beyond just personal gain. But here's the key insight that most men miss. This isn't about having a grand mission or changing the world. It's about approaching your own growth and development with the seriousness and dedication of a spiritual practice. When a woman senses that you're committed to becoming the best version of yourself, not for her, not for anyone else, but because you recognize it as your fundamental responsibility as a human being, something profound shifts in how she perceives you. You become what Jung called a carrier of consciousness, someone who is actively working to expand awareness, integrate shadow material, and live more authentically. And this quality is absolutely magnetic to the feminine psyche. This is because women instinctively recognize that a man who is serious about his own development will also be capable of supporting her development. She senses that you won't try to keep her small or limit her growth because you're not threatened by expansion and change. Most men are unconsciously afraid of feminine power and complexity, so they subtly try to contain or control it. But the man who embodies Jung's insights, he celebrates feminine power because he's secure in his own psychological development. This creates what Jung called the sacred marriage, not just a romantic relationship, but a partnership between two people who are both committed to psychological and spiritual growth. Jung also discovered that women are unconsciously attracted to men who have developed what he called active imagination, the ability to engage creatively with the unconscious mind and bring forth new possibilities. This isn't about being an artist or creative professional, though it can include that. It's about having a living, dynamic relationship with your own imagination and intuition. It's about being a man who can envision possibilities that don't yet exist and take concrete steps to bring them into reality. Women are naturally attracted to this quality because it represents masculine creative power in its highest form. Not just the ability to build or achieve, but the ability to dream new dreams and make them real. This is why women often fall for entrepreneurs, visionaries, and other men who are actively creating something new in the world. There's something in the feminine psyche that responds powerfully to masculine creativity and vision. But again, this doesn't require starting a business or becoming famous. It's about cultivating your capacity for imagination and creative problem solving in whatever domain calls to you. Jung noticed that men who have developed this quality tend to approach relationships with women from a much more creative and flexible perspective. Instead of following rigid rules or scripts, they're able to respond authentically and creatively to whatever arises. This creates a sense of aliveness and possibility that's incredibly attractive to women. Instead of feeling like the relationship is predictable or stagnant, she feels like anything could happen, that you're capable of surprising her, delighting her, and creating new experiences together. Most men approach dating and relationships with very limited imagination. They follow the same predictable patterns, have the same types of conversations, and create the same kinds of experiences. But the man who has cultivated active imagination, he's constantly bringing fresh energy and new possibilities to every interaction. This doesn't mean being unpredictable for the sake of being unpredictable. It means being so connected to your creative source that you naturally generate novelty and surprise. Perhaps most importantly, Jung discovered that women are unconsciously attracted to men who have achieved what he called psychological sovereignty, complete ownership of their own emotional and psychological state. This means never making a woman responsible for how you feel. It means being so grounded in your own center that external circumstances, including her moods and behaviors, don't throw you off balance. Most men are unconsciously dependent on women for their emotional stability. They need her approval, her attention, her validation to feel good about themselves. But this creates what Jung called psychological enmeshment, a codependent dynamic that actually repels feminine energy. The animus is attracted to psychological independence, to men who are complete unto themselves but choose to share their completeness rather than trying to fill an inner void through relationship. This is perhaps the most challenging aspect of Jung's insights, because it requires doing the deep inner work to heal any unresolved wounds from childhood, past relationships, or other sources of psychological dependency. But when you achieve this level of psychological sovereignty, something magical happens. Women sense that you don't need them, that you want them, enjoy them, and value them, but you're not dependent on them for your basic emotional well-being. Paradoxically, this independence creates incredible attraction because it allows her to relax into her own authenticity without worrying about managing your emotional state. Jung observed that healthy feminine energy is naturally generous, nurturing, and giving. But this energy can only flow freely when a woman feels psychologically safe, when she knows that the man she's with won't collapse if she has a bad day, expresses difficult emotions, or needs some space. The man who has achieved psychological sovereignty provides this safety naturally. He's present and engaged when she needs support, but he's not thrown into crisis when she's going through her own challenges. Jung also recognized that women are unconsciously attracted to men who understand and honor what he called the cyclical nature of feminine energy, the natural rhythms and cycles that govern feminine psychology. Unlike masculine energy, which tends to be more linear and consistent, feminine energy moves in cycles, times of expansion and contraction, intensity and rest, outward focus, and inward reflection. Most men don't understand this and take it personally when a woman's energy shifts. They think something is wrong or that they've done something to cause the change. But the man who understands Jung's insights recognizes these cycles as natural and healthy expressions of feminine psychology. This understanding allows him to remain stable and supportive regardless of where she is in her cycle. When she's in an expansive phase, he celebrates and encourages her energy. When she's in a contractive phase, he provides steady presence without trying to pull her out of it. This level of understanding and acceptance is incredibly rare among men, which makes it powerfully attractive to women. She feels truly seen and accepted for who she is, rather than who someone wants her to be. Jung discovered that this acceptance actually allows feminine energy to flow more freely and authentically. When a woman feels that her natural rhythms are understood and honored, she can relax into being fully herself. This creates what Jung called the container for transformation, a relationship dynamic where both people feel safe to evolve, grow, and express their authentic nature without fear of judgment or abandonment. Most relationships lack this container because one or both people are trying to control or change the other. But when you provide this level of acceptance and understanding, incredible intimacy and attraction naturally develop. Women rarely experience this level of psychological sophistication from men, which is why it creates such powerful attraction when they encounter it. Now let's talk about how to integrate all of these insights into your actual interactions with women. Jung emphasized that psychological development isn't just theoretical. It must be embodied and expressed through your presence and behavior. The first step is developing what Jung called conscious relating, the ability to remain aware of both your own psychological patterns and hers during interactions without losing your natural spontaneity. This means paying attention to the deeper currents beneath the surface. Conversation. When she's talking about her day at work, you're also sensing her emotional state, her energy level, and what she might need from you in that moment. But this isn't about analyzing or trying to figure her out. It's about developing a more sophisticated awareness that allows you to respond more authentically and appropriately to whatever is actually happening. Jung discovered that most people relate to each other through what he called personas, social masks that hide their authentic selves. But the man who has done his psychological work can relate from his authentic center, while also seeing through her persona to her authentic self. This creates incredibly powerful attraction because she feels truly seen and understood in a way that rarely happens with other men. The key is learning to trust your intuition and respond from your authentic self rather than from learned patterns or social programming. This requires ongoing practice and self-awareness, but the results are extraordinary. When you're relating from this level of authenticity and awareness, conversations become more meaningful, connections deepen more quickly, and attraction develops naturally without effort or manipulation. Jung called this soul-level communication, relating from the deepest part of yourself to the deepest part of another person. Finally, Jung discovered that the ultimate secret to irresistible attraction is what he called the individuated man, someone who has become fully himself while remaining capable of deep intimacy and connection with others. This is the paradox at the heart of Jungian psychology. You become most attractive to others when you become most authentically yourself. Not the self you think you should be, not the self that others want you to be, but the self you actually are at the deepest level. This requires courage because it means letting go of all the ways you've been trying to manage other people's perceptions of you. It means being willing to be disliked by some people in order to be truly loved by others. But when you achieve this level of authenticity, something extraordinary happens. You naturally attract the people who are meant to be in your life, and you stop wasting energy trying to force connections that aren't meant to be. With women specifically, this authenticity activates what Jung called the recognition response. An unconscious recognition that you are the kind of man she's been unconsciously seeking. This isn't about being perfect or having all your issues resolved. It's about being real, being on the path of growth, and being willing to show up authentically in relationship. Jung spent his entire career studying what makes some people irresistibly attractive, while others struggle to connect. And his research consistently pointed to the same conclusion. Authenticity, depth, and psychological development are the ultimate aphrodisiacs. When you embody these qualities, you don't need techniques or strategies to attract women. Your presence itself becomes magnetic because you represent something rare and valuable in today's world, a man who has done the work to become truly himself. So there you have it, Carl Jung's ultimate secret to becoming irresistibly attractive to women. It's not about what you do or say, it's about who you become through the ongoing work of psychological development and authentic self-expression. This is what leaves a woman absolutely captivated by you. But 99% of men never discover this because they're too busy trying to be someone else instead of becoming who they truly are.